Hi, I'm Emily from Calvert Library Fairview Branch. Thank you for tuning in to Calvert Library Asian Authors Matter. In this video, Calvert librarians will recommend a variety of wonderful books for adults. Let's jump right in. Enjoy!
Hello, my name is Kathy from the Southern Branch, and today I will be talking to you about Aisha at Last by Uzma Jalaluddin. So Aisha at Last is a Pride and Prejudice with a modern twist. So it is a retelling of Pride and Prejudice set in the Toronto Muslim community. Aisha Shamsi has a lot going on. Her dreams of being a poet have been set aside for a teaching job so she can pay off her debts to her wealthy uncle. She lives with her boisterous Muslim family and is also being reminded that her flighty younger sister Hafsa is close to rejecting her 100th marriage proposal. Though Aisha is lonely, she doesn't want an arranged marriage. Then she meets Khalid, who is just as smart and handsome as he is conservative and judgmental. When a surprise engagement between Khalid and Hafsa is announced, Aisha is torn between how she feels about the straightforward Khalid and his family and the truth she realizes about herself. But Khalid is also wrestling with what he believes and what he wants, and he just can't get this beautiful, outspoken woman out of his mind. This novel was a Goodreads Choice Award finalist. It was featured on the Today Show and was a Cosmopolitan UK Book of the Year in 2019, as well as a Publisher's Weekly Best Book of that same year. So, and Aisha at Last has been optioned for a film by Pascal Pictures.
My name is Annalise, and I work at the Prince Frederick branch, and I am usually a children's librarian, but sometimes I get to read adult stuff as well. So I wanted to share one of my favorites with you, and it is a little bit of an older book. It is called Goodbye Vitamin. It's written by Rachel Kong and published by Henry Holtz. And what is there to say about Goodbye Vitamin? It is a little bit of everything. I like to preface it by saying that it is literary fiction for those who don't like to read literary fiction. It tackles a lot of serious subject matter, but it's very light and it's very funny. So our heroine is named Ruth, and she goes through 30-year-old Ruth goes through a terrible breakup. She runs home to her parents' house to feel a little better, and it comes out that her father is suffering from Alzheimer's, and it's becoming a little more advanced every day. And so Ruth doesn't have a lot going on in her life, and her poor mother asks her to stay for 1 year, sacrifice a year to help with the family things. And she can't think of a reason not to. You know, some things happen, and she's like, I can't not do it. So Ruth stays, and it's written there are some letters, there are some diary entries, there's a very sweet dynamic. Her father, as he continues to forget things, shares these diary entries that he wrote about her when she was a child, like all of these beautiful observations she made and things that made her laugh. And as he begins to lose his memory, Ruth starts to do the same thing for him, writing down all of these memories that she doesn't want to forget once he's gone. And like I said, very, very funny, very light, very heartfelt. It's sort of a breakup novel, a family drama. So yeah, I would highly recommend to anyone who likes those, domestic stories. The inner life. As a young woman, I really related to it, and I definitely recommend you check it out. Goodbye Vitamin by Rachel Kong.
Hi, I am Brittney. I am actually with Mobile Services in Calvert Library. And my 2 books for today are totally different. The first one I'll start with is The Night Tiger by Yang-Shi Chu. This is a book that takes place in 1930s Malaya. And it's a little bit of historical fiction, but it's mostly magical realism, because the themes that Yang-Shi likes to go over in her books are the idea of duality, whether that be like the living and the dead, the supernatural and the normal. And our main characters, Ji Lin and Ren, pass cross when Ren, who is a houseboy, his master tells him, I'm dying and I need my finger because I want to be buried whole. Well, Jilin, who is a dancer in a dance hall for, I'll say wealthy foreign men, she happens to find the finger, and the two go off in a whirlwind journey involving all kinds of Malaysian folklore and magic. And it's really interesting the way that she mixes together superstitions and the idea of parallel universes. So definitely worth checking out if you're into magical realism. It's also a great historical fiction piece because I don't think we really get to see a lot of 1930s Malaya. So it was really unique read for that. And then on the totally other end of the spectrum, we have a contemporary rom-com. So this is Helen Huang's second book. The first one she wrote was The Kiss Quotient, which was phenomenal. Also read that. And this kind of takes place in pretty much the same universe. So you don't have to read them in order, but it is kind of a series, not series. And in The Bride Test, our two love interests are Esme and Kai. Kai is a 30-something autistic man who's doing all right in pretty much everything except for his love life, because in his own words, he considers himself defective at emotions because of his autistic disorder. He has trouble connecting with people. His family knows, though, that he just has trouble communicating with people, but he does feel emotions. Esme, on the other hand, lives in Ho Chi Minh City and finds an invitation from Kai's mother to come to the United States. She is excited because this gives her the opportunity to hopefully get her family out of poverty. The only catch is she has to seduce Kai for that money. So the bride test is actually given to Esme to see if she's going to be a good bride. And it is hilarious. It is a little steamy, and everyone in it is so lovably like down to earth. You would just believe that these are your neighbors or like your family. So I definitely recommend that one as well. It's a really good fluffy read that kind of just leaves you feeling warm and fuzzy inside when you're done. And those are my books.
Hi, my name is Molly, and I am a substitute librarian. So you might see me at all 4 of the different Calvert Library locations, and sometimes at community events as well. Today I have 2 books that I wanted to highlight. The first is Peony in Love, written by Lisa C. And Lisa C is a Chinese-American author who's written lots of best-selling fiction, like last year's Maryland One Book Selection, The Island of Sea Women. I've really enjoyed all of her books so far, but my favorite is this one. It's one of her earlier works, Peony in Love. It's a piece of historical fiction set in 17th century China, and it tells the story of Peony, who is a young woman who is elated to have found the love of her life, while simultaneously heartbroken to find that she is engaged to marry a stranger. It's only on her deathbed that she realizes that her unknown fiance actually was the very man that she had fallen in love with and subsequently starved herself to death over. After wasting away, she's doomed to spend her days as a ghost who haunts the wives of the man who was supposed to be her husband. It's a fascinating blend of historical fiction, romance, ghost story, and Chinese folklore that asks the question, how do you come of age in the face of death? My second book is World of Wonders by Amy Nezukumatatil, who is Indian Filipino American. Though it's a totally different genre from Peony in Love, it is an equally delightful read. I picked it up expecting it to teach me about animals and plants, and it did, but it was so much more than that. It's a series of illustrated nonfiction essays written by Nezukumatatil, who's a poet, and she paints an interconnected glimpse into life itself, really. Through her relationship to the natural world, she paints a picture of nature, parenthood, cultural identity, and growing up mixed race in America. Each essay highlights a different animal or plant that's been meaningful or instructive in her life. And no matter where she calls home, the wonders of the world were her touchstone. I really loved her writing style. It was very poetic and lovely. The personal connection that she brought to each subject and learning more about the creatures and plants that were unfamiliar to me, things like cassowaries and ribbon eels and axolotls. as well as learning more about more familiar wonders like fireflies and narwhals. I read this over the course of a month. Each night I would pick a different essay to read before bed, and it was the perfect way to end my day in wonder.
Thank you, Molly. Those books sound amazing. Hello, everyone. My name is Reiner. I'm from Mobile Services. The book I'd like to talk about is Little Fires Everywhere by Celeste Inga. So our story takes place in Shaker Heights. It's a suburban middle-class town in Ohio. We are and her daughter Pearl as they drive up in their old beat-up station wagon. We are also introduced to Elena Richardson and her family who have lived in Shaker Heights since it was built. Elena rents out one of their houses to low-income families such as Mia and Pearl because they feel that she's doing good and it's the right thing to do. So Mia is an artist, and she and Pearl have been traveling from city to city, never really settling down until the prospect of living in such a wonderful neighborhood such as Shaker Heights, where it is safe, has the best schools in the country. This, of course, excites Pearl. Living in Shaker Heights could not get any better for Pearl. She becomes friends with the wealthy Richardson family children. She's doing very well with her challenging new school, and she even starts dating. But things start to turn sour as we dive deeper into the story. So culture and class stereotypes are revealed from the very beginning of the story. They get more intricate and more detailed as we go through, as we get deeper into it. One good thing is that the stereotypes are very sympathetic as opposed to being very negative, but the differences in beliefs and lifestyles from both of our main characters make this once ideally perfect picture situation fall apart. All characters in the story are written with very well in such a depth that one can't help but understand each perspective and choose a side. The plot itself was beautifully written, but the subplots threw curveball after curveball, keeping readers on their toes at all times. Honestly, I could talk more about this book, but I don't want to give out any more details as this book is really best gone in blind, I would say, and ruin it for our readers. So pick up Little Fires Everywhere by Celeste Inga, and you'll find out what I'm talking about. Thank you.
Thank you, Reiner. I'm Sandy, and I work at the Twin Beaches branch up in Chesapeake Beach. And today I would like to talk to you about a wonderfully thought-provoking biography from Pulitzer Prize-winning journalist Jose Antonio Vargas. It's called Dear America, Notes of an Undocumented Citizen. And it traces the author's life starting at age 12, when he was suddenly awoken from his bed in the Philippines, his family home in the Philippines, and hastily taken by his mother to the airport, put on a plane, and sent to live with family that had immigrated to Northern California. So he begins to settle into his new life. He's actually enjoying it in a lot of ways, his new family, his new country. He's trying hard to fit in. But everything starts to fall apart at 16 when he goes to get a driver's license, and he realizes that he was smuggled into the country, that his green card is fake, and that he's actually undocumented, and he had no idea. So this begins years and years of, in his words, lying and hiding and passing in an effort to remain a contributing citizen in a country that doesn't recognize him. But with the help of his family, his friends, and his teachers, he actually is able to get a driver's license and finish high school. Then he ends up with a summer internship, and then a 2-year internship, and then a job at the Washington Post. And it's there that he wins his Pulitzer Prize as a set of journalists that wrote about the Virginia Tech shooting in 2007. So he's doing just fine, but in 2011, he writes an essay that is published in the New York Times Magazine that is entitled My Life as an Undocumented Immigrant. And he reveals his true nature here in the country. A year later, he appeared on the cover of Time Magazine with other fellow undocumented immigrants as part of a follow-up story. He went on to produce a documentary on the subject, a TV special, a Broadway production. He's actually a multi-award winner. And to found a nonprofit media advocacy organization that's called Define American, that, to quote him, says, uses the power of narrative to humanize conversations about immigrants. He calls himself the most famous undocumented immigrant in the country. So this book that was published in 2018 is an extension of all of that work, and really just seeks to bring a human picture to all of the conversations that we are having in this country about immigration. And it could not be more apropos now. He describes his just maddening position as an unwitting participant in this story. He had no idea that he had been brought here illegally. And he is just 1 month too old to participate in the DACA program that helps undocumented minors that have come to this country gain their citizenship. So he truly has no path to citizenship, no ability to leave, and really no desire to leave. This is the country that he considers his home. He's been here since he was 12 years old. So it's really a fascinating story. The author Dave Eggers commented when it was released, he said, it couldn't be more timely and more necessary. And I would say that's even more true 3 years later. So the author, though, I think describes the book the best. And what he says is, this is not a book about the politics of immigration. This book, at its core, is not about immigration at all. This book is about homelessness, not in a traditional sense, but in the unsettled, unmoored psychological state that undocumented immigrants like myself find ourselves in. Later, he says this book is about what it means to not have a home. So I encourage everyone to check out Dear America. There is hard copies, obviously, in the library. It's also available as an ebook and an audiobook on Libby by Overdrive, so you can get it that way. There is even an early reader version that you can get for teens and tweens, and I encourage them to check that out as well. And I look forward to his next book. It's due to be released in 2023. It's called White is Not a Country. That's going to explore race and identity, particularly for people who are of mixed race. So thank you very much. Come check it out.
Thank you, Sandy. I look forward to picking that one up for sure. So today I'm going to talk about Balzac and the Little Chinese Seamstress by Dai Siji. In this beautifully crafted tale, we follow the lives of two friends exiled to a remote mountain village for re-education during China's Cultural Revolution in the 1960s and 70s. There, the boys meet the daughter of the local tailor, and with her they discover a hidden collection of banned Western classic books translated into their own language. As the three explore these books, they transport themselves into new worlds, allowing them to escape their bleak surroundings. Reading Balzac and the Little Chinese Seamstress is almost like reading a more complex fairy tale or fable. It's the coming of age story, and it's also a lesson in history. You'll find themes of friendship, love, independence, and literature. The Washington Post book world called it a funny, touching, sly, and altogether delightful novel about the power of art to enlarge our imaginations. This book will certainly do that for you if you pick it up. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. My name is Tanya Williams, and today I would like to talk to you about a book called Geisha, A Life. This book was written by Mineko Iwasaki. So I want you to imagine for me this. One day someone comes to you and asks you to tell them your life story, and you tell them about pretty much all of your life history. And then they go off with that information, your information, and they change it around to make more money. They highly sexualize things. They take things out of concept. They make something that's honorable into something that's trash. Well, that's what happened to this young lady, Mineko Iwasaki. She was the mentor or the foreface for Memoirs of a Geisha. And in her book, I guess she wants to clarify some things and tell people the real story about how it wasn't, it wasn't prostitution. She didn't sell her massage. She didn't, that wasn't how life really was. And what I appreciate about it is that she gives the real history of what it means to be a geisha. How it's something that's highly prized and not just something that's a common thing. I really enjoyed it because she talks about those things. In the book, she has pictures, and it talks about how the correct hairdo that you have to have. She has in it pictures from when she met Prince Charles and Queen Elizabeth. It's a wonderful story of a wonderful author's life. I suggest if you ever get a chance to read it, please pick up the real copy instead of getting Rose of a Geisha, which I loved. But geisha, a life. This is the real story of the woman who is the face of Memoirs of a Geisha. All right, well, thank you so much. I hope you enjoyed. Take care. Bye.
Well, I hope you're as excited as I am to pick up these books, read them yourself, and pass them along to others to enjoy. Visit calvertlibrary.info to find these titles and to explore all that Calvert Library has to offer. Thank you.